Okay, so this is a video game review for Quake 4 for the PC, released in 2005. The best way I can describe this game is as a generic sci-fi FPS. I neither liked it nor disliked it tremendously. I'm fairly indifferent towards it. This game shares many similarities to Doom 3, such as the engine, and certainly general feel is very familiar. However, while Doom 3 frustrated the hell out of me, Quake 4 didn't do this, although it didn't really grab me either. I'm sure to compare the two games quite a lot during this review. To begin with, the game sees you playing as Corporal Kane. He's one tough marine, and as humanity takes on the Strogg. From what I can tell, this game takes place after Quake 2, a game that I never played, and while very little of what happened during that game is explained, it's not very difficult to get into the swing of things. The story isn't exactly riveting, and there will be times when missions feel a little bit tedious, but it isn't the monster of a game that Doom 3 was, and while it is inhabited by plenty of forgettable characters, they are useful in your journey, and one of the best things in this game is how your teammates can heal you after shootouts with enemy Strogg forces, of which there are more than in Doom 3. Whereas Doom 3 had usually no more than 3 or 4 enemies per room, Quake 4 usually fits in a few more, albeit in scripted waves. The AI is pretty decent, but the enemy Strogg aren't all that interesting, neither are the guns that you receive. It's all pretty bog standard, and I feel that Quake is certainly a game series lacking a USP. It feels way too similar to Doom 3 than it really should. While there's a fair bit of backtracking throughout the game, there's no annoying emails to wade through like in Doom 3, and the health is much more readily available, as is the ammo. Gone are the stupid lockers, and the difficulty has been lowered considerably. Where I found Doom 3 tough, even on easy mode, normal mode for Quake 4 would probably be Doom's very, very easy, if that even was a setting. I personally prefer this, as it allowed me to make decent progress throughout the game's single player mode without too much repetition, with a few exceptions coming towards the end of the game when the difficulty is stepped up noticeably. The auto-saving is also regular, and that keeps the game ticking along and comes in easily above 10 hours, if not around 15. I wasn't really keeping track, but it was far longer than I was expecting, and this game is certainly single player focused, which is no bad thing really. There is a multiplayer mode, but no AI controlled bots, so I didn't really put that mode through its paces. Now, Quake 4 is not a scary game, nor even a jumpy one. Doom 3 wasn't a scary game, but it had its fair share of jumps when it threw enemies at you in time with a crescendo of sudden jolting music. This happens in Quake 4, but it isn't all that effective. That said, this isn't really an issue for the game, as it works out better as an out-and-out shooter anyway. The flashlight sections in Doom 3 could get a bit much throughout its 40,000 hour story, whereas the dark sections in Quake 4 are used more sparingly, and on the whole, visibility is far greater in this game, and the colour palette with more blues and oranges is just more pleasing on the eye than the monotonous blacks, greys and reds of Doom 3. One of the most welcome aspects of Quake 4 is how I never had a problem getting where I needed to be. Many games developers try to increase their game's duration these days, seemingly by making their levels a labyrinth of rooms and hallways, which the player can get lost in and spend several hours wandering around in. It's a cheap tactic, and it doesn't improve the gameplay experience whatsoever. Quake 4 doesn't do that, so while I didn't find it the most riveting game to play, it was mostly void of any chaff or some of the time-wasting sections that you get in other games, so shootouts are pretty regular. They break up the action with some fairly industry-standard vehicle sections as well. They slow down the action a little bit, but overall don't really provide too much to the overall enjoyability factor. Now, one of my biggest gripes with Doom 3, on top of it just being a gargantuan game which took several lifetimes to complete, was that it felt so detached from the original games. While I could have articulated my points and critiques better, it was just overall a frustrating gaming experience, and one that I only went through in order to review it. I don't have any special affinity with the Quake series, however. The first game was good, as was the expansion pack Malice, but Quake 2, just rather like Doom 3, looks very removed from the original creation, and I didn't play it, I didn't buy it, and well, by not having any affinity with this game series, Quake 4 doesn't annoy me as Doom 3 did. That said, the universe is not one that I feel is well fleshed out, well projected, and feels just far too similar to Doom to be considered unique and distinct. Another thing in Quake's favour is that, well, having played Doom 3, and becoming used to the engine, I was able to take to Quake 4 much more ably than I was originally to Doom 3, noticing things like ammo and guns against well-defined tiles and environments, as well as being drawn to the relevant computer terminals. Some of this was in part due to good development and layout on Raven, the developer's part, but some of it was also due to me just simply going through the teething process that was Doom 3. So to the conclusion. Well, Quake 4 is a functional game. It will keep the player busy in the single player for some time. There's a bit of backtracking, and the bad guys, guns, and fellow characters are as bland as it comes without being offensively bad. The music is sparse, but it is decent where it exists. The game is quite easy to beat on normal mode, although the end boss does contain another irritating puzzle aspect, which did leave me on a rather sour note as I had to look up what I had to do other than just blast the thing with my railgun. I can't really stand puzzles that take me more than 2 minutes to work out. The game's levels are expansive enough, and there's less time wasted, as in unlike other games. Now, my score only reflects my own opinion and should be obviously taken as subjective. For me, this game wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it was just so-so. To be honest, it felt like a pretty derivative, boring, bland, grey FPS. It doesn't do anything too badly, it's just not all that interesting. It's technically fine, it's technically fairly solid, but it's in the creative element that I wasn't really gripped by this, as I have been by other Raven games, such as those set in the Star Trek universe or the Star Wars universe. So what I would say is my score is only ever suggestive, and the reason why I'm saying all this stuff about how I rate games and stuff, well, I only really review games for prospective purchasers, so that people can work out, well, is a game worth playing or buying? And the reason I say this is because, well, even though there are plenty of people who call themselves fans and things like that who watch these videos, and just people who are interested in computer games who watch these reviews, my emphasis is always on, is this game worth playing? And what I would say to people is that if you like the look of this game and you've taken all the points made into consideration, then go for it. It's easy for me to recommend a game that people think looks good, because technically, as I said, it's fairly solid. It's just in the creative element, I didn't really think it was all up to very much. Now, when I first looked at this game, I didn't really expect to like it, and I didn't. I didn't dislike it, as I said, but it was when you see a game that you think looks fun, then sometimes just go for it. Like I say, it doesn't really matter what I think. I'm just giving some of the points across. Some of the best games I've ever played have come from seeing a game and liking what I saw, even if the review which accompanied it criticised it heavily. Ultimately, this game isn't for me, but it could easily be for someone who likes the look of what they see. Just remember that I do use the best footage, even if it's not a personal favourite game of mine. I do try and use all the best footage, the most interesting stuff. So, with all that said, I'm just going to give Quake 4 a kind of midway score. It does as much right as it does wrong. Technically, it's solid. In the creative element, I found it a little bit bland, but yeah, I give Quake 4 a 5 out of 10. And that's me.